So, are you looking for affordable alternatives to both Jo Malone and Louis Vuitton fragrances? Well, Dossier might have you covered. So today we're going to be talking about Aromatic Ginger and Woody Sage. So stay tuned to hear my thoughts on these two fragrances. Hey, what's going on, guys? Hunter here and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, what I do is I make fragrance related content. So if you love fragrances, go to smash the subscribe button down below. But that's right, guys, I have two more offerings from the house of Dossier. And if you aren't familiar with the house, they're actually a cologne house at fantastic prices with very high quality ingredients inside. And I think that they make some of the best dupes slash clones on the market. So if that's exactly what you're looking for, definitely check out the house. Now, I do want to mention that these two fragrances were sent out for review, but that will not persuade my thoughts on these fragrances whatsoever. I'll still give you guys my honest opinions on both of these fragrances. But I do also have some savings for you guys if you do decide to check out Dossier. I can get you guys an extra 10% off your purchase. So use code FragranceHunter10 to save 10%. Now, like I said, I do have two fragrances, one from Louis Vuitton and one from Jo Malone that they are dupes of. The first fragrance we'll be speaking about is actually a clone of Louis Vuitton's Le Mesete. I think that's how you pronounce it. And the second one is actually a clone of Jo Malone's Wood Sage and Sea Salt, which is actually probably their most popular fragrance in their collection. So let's go ahead and go over some information about these. The Aromatic Ginger actually retails for $39 compared to $280, which is the retail price for the Louis Vuitton. And Woody Sage retails for $29 compared to, I believe, $145 for the Jo Malone. So definitely much more affordable than the original launches. So we'll talk about if these are actually worth it and if they are close. Even though I don't actually own a bottle of either of these currently, I am pretty familiar with Wood Sage and Sea Salt by Jo Malone. I actually had a decant of that. I've actually never smelled the Louis Vuitton Le Mesete, so I'm not gonna be able to compare this and see how it actually compares. So we're gonna be pretty much judging this on fragrance alone and like the scent profile and stuff. Now, Dossier have actually become pretty popular as of recently. You can actually find these at Walmart now, which I think is actually incredible. So you don't have to just order these on the Dossier website. Go check out your local Walmart. I don't believe they're at all Walmarts, but they are at a lot of them. So go ahead and check them out. I'm not sure if they have like samples of stuff to check out as well at Walmart, but regardless, you can pick these up there in person. So I think that is fantastic. Without further ado, let's go ahead and look at the packaging and presentation of Dossier. All right, so starting off with the box. Now I have noticed, because I actually own around 20 from Dossier, I have quite a few. The box has changed a little bit from the past. It's actually a much nicer cardboard box, much smoother from the old original ones. But yeah, I do much prefer this. On the front, of course, it just says Dossier. On the top, you actually have a barcode with your fragrance right there. Then you open it up like so, and you are greeted with a message saying iconic scents, designer quality, no markups. Now, what they mean by no markups is since they don't have like Dossier stores around the country and stuff like that, they don't have to employ like a bunch of employees, pay fees to have stores, etc. So they could pretty much just focus on putting all of their money into the ingredients inside and also the bottles and stuff like that, and still sell it at affordable prices, because most designer houses, they have a bunch of markups because they have to compensate for paying employees, for having their stuff being sold at stores and things like that. So that is pretty good. Now it also comes with a card. This one in particular is actually Aromatic Ginger that I'm showing you as far as the box presentation. I do want to mention that all of these fragrances from Dossier are actually eau de parfum concentration, so a little bit higher than your traditional like eau de cologne and eau de toilette even, so that is a nice touch. But it actually says concentration is 18%, which absolutely makes it an eau de parfum. It says, our mission is to deliver the highest quality luxury-inspired fragrances at a fair price, giving you the freedom to explore new scents. Thank you for giving us a try. So that is awesome. So things have changed a little bit with Dossier. Before, they used to actually include maybe like a little 2 ml sample in each box of that fragrance to test, because you can actually test out the sample, and if you weren't satisfied with the purchase, you can just return the bottle and keep the sample. But now they do not include a sample. As you saw in the box, there's no samples anymore. But what's nice about it is you can actually test out your bottle, and if you're not satisfied with the bottle, you can just return it and get your money back. So that is kind of nice, but I do wish they would still include a sample. I thought that was a very cool thing from Dossier, which was pretty unique. I think a lot of companies should actually do that, because when you're blind buying fragrances, you know, that can become very expensive, like $100 and up. You don't know what you're getting into, and sometimes you can't return the fragrance. Because it says right here, if you're not in love, you're always able to return your bottle. Simply head over to the returns page on Dossier to create a return label and ship back to us. We've got you covered. So hats off to Dossier for that. So let's take a look at the bottle now. It is a very simplistic bottle, which I do not mind. I actually do like simplistic bottles. They have their place. If they just want to focus on spending more money in the ingredients and the juice inside, I'm all for that. Even though I am still a sucker for a fantastic luxury packaging, I also do enjoy these. So on the front, you do have a sticker. They have upgraded, because before they would come real bubbly and stuff, which I have talked about before with like some of my first Dossier videos. I was like, maybe they could up that, but they have done that, so they've been listening, so that is awesome. But on the front, it's kind of like a scientist bottle is what comes to mind to me, because it lists the top, middle, and base notes, which we'll go over. And then obviously your model fragrance right there, Aromatic Ginger and Dossier. But also on the bottom, they have upped their quality as well, because now, well, before they just had a generic sticker down here that was the same on every single bottle, just like Dossier, nothing else really on it, and like maybe their address. Now they actually have a sticker with your fragrance right there, Aromatic Ginger, as you see, 50 ml bottle, but now they also put a batch code as well. So that is pretty cool. And also expiration is 36 months, which before they didn't have that. But in my opinion, fragrances do not expire. I've had fragrances from over 6 years old in my collection currently. They still smell exactly the same as the first day I sprayed them. Just do not store them in high heat and in direct sunlight. They'll last a lifetime, guys. Do not worry about that, because if they didn't, I would be worried, because I have around 200 bottles, as you see behind me, and they would just be a ticking bomb until they start getting bad. But no, not the case whatsoever. Now, my favorite thing about the bottles of Dossier, which I think is amazing that they have this, is actually the cap, guys. Take a look at this. It is magnetic, just like Dior Sauvage, like Bleu de Chanel, and a lot of other higher end fragrances. So they do have a magnetic cap that actually holds into place very snugly. This has got to be one of the most confident magnetic caps I've ever actually tested. Even some can be a little bit loose and you kind of got to worry, but you just twist the cap and it stays on very nicely. And they also have updated their atomizers, which a lot of people probably didn't notice, but I did. Before, the atomizers were like a generic kind of like tall, cheap looking atomizer, but now they're actually a little bit shorter and they spray a little bit better as well. So that is awesome, and nothing inside the cap there. So like I said, the first one we're speaking about is Aromatic Ginger. I'm gonna read the notes off to you guys really quick. In the top, we have ginger, grapefruit, marine notes. In the middle notes, we have clary sage, rosemary, geranium. And in the base, we have amberwood and labdanum. So let's go ahead and spray this on and test out the atomizer. I'm actually gonna spray this on my forearm here, and take a look at this, guys. Very nice distribution. Sprays it very wide. Even though it's not pressurized, it still does a fantastic job. So in the opening of Aromatic Ginger, which is obviously a clone of Louis Vuitton Le Mesete, man, I like this stuff a lot. Now, Louis Vuitton has been getting a ton of hype lately. Kind of up there with like Tom Ford's private blend, since obviously Louis Vuitton is a designer brand. And they just recently started making fragrances, maybe like 2 years ago, I think they started, or not even. Very, very new house. And wow, this one here from Dossier is fantastic. And I can only imagine the original is good as well. So in the top of this, I do get a nice kind of tart, fruity grapefruit in the opening. A little bit citrusy as well. Yeah, just a blast of grapefruit. Now, the grapefruit in this kind of resembles the grapefruit you would find in like Bleu de Chanel. This is actually a very crowd-pleasing, designer-heavy fragrance, in my opinion, from Louis Vuitton. But even though it is coming across not very unique, to be honest with you guys, it does come across like a very nice DNA and composition, where it smells very, very expensive, unlike most of your typical designers like Sauvage, and I wouldn't say Bleu de Chanel because I love Bleu de Chanel and that does come across kind of luxury, kind of expensive smelling. But this DNA here is done fantastic. Alongside the juicy, kind of tart grapefruit, you do have a heavy dose of ginger, which you would obviously expect. This is an aromatic fragrance and it has a ton of ginger in here. Honestly, I'm indifferent to the note of ginger. I don't love it. I don't really hate it. It depends on how it's done and how it's blended. If I just get a ton of ginger with nothing else balancing it out, I'm kind of persuaded away from that fragrance. As you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of l'homme ultime, which is like a ginger and rose kind of fragrance. Not a fan of that, even though a lot of people love it. But in aromatic ginger, I actually dig this blend here. Done very, very well. I've actually talked about this fragrance before in some of my weekly fragrance rotations and also on Instagram, because I actually love this one. This is actually one of my favorite from the house of Dossier, alongside their Oud Wood clone and also their By the Fireplace clone, which is identical to the original, very, very similar. I also reviewed that not too long ago, so you can go check out that one with Tobacco Vanilla. I did those two together. But with aromatic ginger, it does have also a sage note, which I'm not really a fan of sage, as you guys know if you follow my channel. Dossier also has a fragrance of Tom Ford's Effing Fabulous, which is a sage balm from the Dossier, which I'm not really a fan of that fragrance. And I don't really think that's very similar to the Effing Fabulous, which is a little bit more leathery, a little bit more almondy. The Dossier version of that is the sage heavy, and I kind of not a fan of that, even though in this one it's done very nicely, kind of like the ginger. The ginger, the grapefruit, and the sage is all blended so good. So once you get past that crowd-pleasing opening, and trust me guys, this fragrance gets a ton of compliments. So if you're looking for compliments that Sauvage gets and Bleu de Chanel gets, but you want to smell a little bit different than most guys wearing fragrances, you might want to check out Aromatic Ginger, and especially at 39 bucks, and you're getting that DNA of the Louis Vuitton Le Misette. I keep almost pronouncing that wrong, even though I might be pronouncing it wrong. Yeah, you get that DNA of that fragrance, which is nearly $300. You're gonna smell very expensive. As it dries down, it has a very modern amberwood in there, which is kind of like ambroxan. You also find ambroxan in Sauvage. It's a very masculine, almost musky smelling, almost kind of woody smelling as well. It's a cord, and it's used in a lot of fragrances nowadays. It just gives it a very modern, clean, masculine touch, and that's what you get in this fragrance. You get a ton of ambroxan, which I do not mind. It also boosts the performance of fragrances because, like I said, ambroxan is synthetic, so it lasts a very, very long time. And that's what we're going to touch on now. Now, this is an eau de parfum concentration. Like I said, the performance is incredible with it, especially being a fresh citrus fragrance. Easily lasts you a whole work shift and projects heavy for around 4 hours or so. So no complaints with that at all. It's a little bit above average in my terms of testing fragrances. So yeah, solid release from Dossier, and for 39 bucks or even cheaper if you use my discount code, I think this is a very good buy. Up next, we're gonna be talking about Woody Sage, which is a clone of Jo Malone's Wood Sage and Sea Salt, which is probably their most popular from the line. Even though it doesn't last that long, it is an eau de cologne concentration. So if you like Wood Sage and Sea Salt but hate the performance of it, you might want to check out this one because, like I said, it is an eau de parfum and it is very similar to Wood Sage and Sea Salt. So let's go ahead and spray this one on this arm. And again, check out the atomizer of Dossier. Very nice. So for the note listing for Woody Sage, you have the top notes, which consist of fig tree and grapefruit. Middle notes, you have marine notes, ambrette. And in the base notes, you have clary sage and amber wood. So it is a little bit similar to the aromatic ginger with having grapefruit and sage and amber wood as well. So yeah, a little bit similar to the note breakdown, but let's see what I think about Woody Sage. So with Woody Sage, I do get a ton of fig in the opening, which I find fig to be a very unique, interesting note in fragrances. It's not used that much, so when it is used, I absolutely appreciate it and just love fig. And I love eating figs as well, so that might have something to do with it. I do get a very green aspect to Woody Sage as well, which might be coming from the fig, maybe like a fig, Well, it is called fig tree, so maybe that's why. But alongside that, I do get a nice juicy grapefruit. It's not really like, I know I'm going to this fragrance, it's not as juicy, not as aquatic as Aromatic Ginger to my nose. Grapefruit in here is a little bit more tart, not as juicy, but it still has a very solid opening. I'll be honest with you guys though, wood sage and sea salt is not really my cup of tea when it comes to fragrances. I do like Jo Malone as a house, especially their intense line like Oud and Bergamot I own, and absolutely love Myrrh and Tonka. But wood sage and sea salt just never really fell in love with the composition and never actually sought out a bottle, and probably won't, especially if I own this and I kind of crave in that wood sage and sea salt DNA. This will definitely suit my needs. And for $29, guys, you cannot beat that. And the performance of woody sage outperforms wood sage and sea salt about 10 times. Much better performing when it comes to longevity and projection with this one. Now, as woody sage dries down, you get a ton of woody qualities to this fragrance. It's not really aquatic, even though marine notes is listed. I don't really pick up on any kind of aquatic touches to this fragrance. It does come across a little bit soapy. You do have, like I said, a nice woody base to this fragrance, which I absolutely love. And you have that ambroxan, amberwood, which is very similar. So it moderns it up a lot and boosts the performance a ton. Yeah, you get a ton of sage. Honestly, it kind of smells like sage dish soap, which I actually use. So maybe that's why when I think of sage, I'm just not a fan of it, guys. Yeah, not a fan of the note. And in here, you pick up on a ton more sage than in Aromatic Ginger, which I do not mind the sage in that one. But wood sage sea salt is a beloved fragrance by so many people. It is very unique, especially for a spring and summer fragrance. So if you're looking for uniqueness, if you're looking for kind of a soapy, a little bit salty and woody fragrance, and if you love fig, you definitely have to check out woody sage. Instead of spending $145 for the Jo Malone, which barely lasts, maybe only like 3 hours or so, definitely I would suggest getting this one for 29 bucks. And like I said, I have tested wood sage and sea salt from my decant. This stuff smells probably around 95% similar. I think the wood sage and sea salt may be a little bit more salty than this one, maybe a little bit more aquatic, a tiny bit, even though it's not really an aquatic fragrance at all. It's not your typical generic aquatic blue fragrance. It's a very different DNA. Man, yeah, I'm getting a ton of that grapefruit, very tarty grapefruit. Not like a juicy kind of fruity grapefruit, more of a tart green vibe I'm getting from it. But I do like it. I love grapefruit. It's one of my favorite kind of citruses and fruits in fragrances, alongside obviously the popular bergamot. I actually prefer grapefruit over bergamot in my opinion. And yeah, it is done pretty good in here. I do love it to be more of a juicy, but it is well blended in here. Yeah, all in all, two fantastic fragrances from the house of Dossier. You really cannot beat the quality you're getting at the price you're spending. Trust me on that. It's hard to beat the quality of these fragrances, which is why they have become so popular as of lately. And yeah, guys, but that's pretty much gonna wrap up my overview of both of these. Let me know down below if you've actually ever tried Dossier, if you've tried either of these or the original wood sage sea salt and Lemescentinite. Love to hear you guys' opinions on the fragrances I'm speaking about. It's always so enjoyable reading you guys' comments, and I appreciate every single one of you. But that's gonna wrap up this overview. If you did enjoy the video, definitely leave a like on it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll catch all you guys in the next upload. Take care, everybody.